Stage 2 LOX load has started.
It's Friday, August 7th, and you're looking at a live view of Falcon 9 as it awaits its 1:12 a.m. Eastern launch time from Pad 39A at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. This will be the first mission from this pad since we launched Bob and Doug to the International Space Station over 2 months ago. Hello from SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. My name is Yo Mezo, and I'm a Dragon Integration and Test Engineer here at SpaceX. You're watching a live webcast for our 10th Starlink mission, marking our 13th mission of 2020. To date, we've launched almost 540 Starlink satellites to orbit. As a reminder, Starlink is a constellation of satellites in low Earth orbit that can provide high-speed, low-latency internet all over the globe, particularly in remote or rural areas where connectivity is limited or completely unavailable. Today's launch will be a longer one, as we are reverting to a circular orbital insertion, which requires 2 burns of the Merlin vacuum engine on the second stage. We are doing this at the request of our rideshare customer, flying on board today's mission, which is our second smallsat rideshare on a Starlink mission to date. There are 2 BlackSky satellites sitting on top of the Starlink stack on behalf of our customer, Spaceflight. BlackSky is a global monitoring company that combines space assets with advanced AI and machine learning analysis to provide customers with a first-to-know advantage. Now, in order to make room for these 2 BlackSky satellites, today we'll be launching 57 Starlink satellites instead of the 60 we've traditionally launched in the past. If for some reason we have a hold on the countdown today, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow at 12:50 a.m. Eastern. We are now at T-minus 11 minutes and 43 seconds, and all systems are go for an on-time liftoff this morning. On your screen is Falcon 9, our two-stage liquid-fueled launch vehicle, getting ready for launch from Pad 39A. Falcon 9 stands 229 feet tall, or slightly taller than a 21-story building. Today's flight will be the 5th for this booster, which made its debut on our Demonstration 1 mission in March of last year, reflew on RADARSAT 3 months later, and then supported 2 Starlink missions in January and April of 2020. This flight also marks the 10th reflight of Falcon 9 just this year. The bottom 2/3 of the vehicle is the first stage. It's designed to be reflown 10 or more times with minimal refurbishment between flights. If you look closely, you can see the soot markings still on the vehicle from its previous 4 flights. The first stage has 9 Merlin engines that do the bulk of the work to get Falcon 9 off the ground and up to the thinner parts of the Earth's atmosphere, before separating from the second stage and making its way back down to Earth for landing. Today, we'll be attempting to recover this first stage for the 5th time on our drone ship, Of Course I Still Love You, which is currently stationed in the Atlantic Ocean about 330 nautical miles northeast of our Kennedy Space Center launch site. Now, above the first stage is the second stage, which has the single Merlin vacuum, or MVAC engine, which ignites after the first stage separates, propelling the second stage, along with the BlackSky and Starling satellites, into a circular orbit above the Earth's surface. From there, the first of the BlackSky rideshare satellites will separate after about an hour into flight, followed by the second 5 minutes later. The 57 Starling satellites will then deploy about 25 minutes after that at T plus 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 55 seconds. Now, that structure at the very top of the rocket is the 17-foot diameter payload fairing, which safely encloses the stack of 57 Starling satellites and 2 BlackSky satellites. This fairing protects the satellites from aerothermal heating, aerodynamic loads, and contamination during ascent. Once we reach the vacuum of space, we'll jettison the fairing halves while second stage continues on to orbit. Now, as you can see, the fairing halves that we're using today are a brand new set, and we'll be attempting to recover them using our recovery ships Miss Tree and Miss Chief. 2 minutes before the fairings are set to land, the team will decide if conditions are good to make a safe catch attempt. Weather plays a big factor in the decision, as it can impact not only the sea states for the ships, but also the fairing's altitude, position, and speed, which impact how the fairing will fall back to Earth.
Good early morning. I'm John Isbrecher, Falcon 9 Principal Integration Engineer here at SpaceX. A Falcon 9 rolled out to the pad with the payload just over 24 hours ago. This is the 3rd time we've rolled out Falcon 9 to the pad, following launch attempts on 26 June and 8 July. Through all of this, Falcon 9 has been trouble-free, as the delays have been weather-related and payload-related. Now, the launch director held the go, no-go poll for propellant loading and launch at T-minus 38 minutes, about half an hour ago. Now, the 7 members of the launch team confirmed they were ready to proceed, and we began propellant loading at T-minus 35 minutes. Now, as a reminder, Falcon 9 is a bipropellant vehicle. That means it uses both a fuel and an oxidizer. Our fuel is rocket-grade kerosene. You'll hear us also refer to it as RP1. And our oxidizer is super-chilled liquid oxygen, also called LOX. Now, currently, the RP1 and LOX are nearly fully loaded on both stages. In fact, fuel is completely loaded. Liquid oxygen will continue to load until the last 2 minutes of the countdown. That will ensure that this densified liquid oxygen is as cold as we can keep it to get the expected performance out of the Merlin engines. We're also loading ultra-cold helium. Similar to the LOX, being very cold, it lets us get the maximum amount into storage vessels on both the first and second stages. Now, we use helium to pressurize Falcon 9's tanks and to help pull the RP1 and the LOX through the Merlin engine turbopumps. Now, to make sure engine startup goes well, we also perform what we call engine chill. We'll ought to hear that in the background in about 20 seconds at T-minus 7 minutes. We begin flowing a small amount of that super chilled LOX into the Merlin engine turbopumps. This helps get them cold and avoid thermal shock to the system when we do the full flow of liquid oxygen through the turbopumps in the last couple of seconds.
Stage 1 engine chill has started.
And there we've got the confirmation. Stage 1 engine chill has started. In your picture, there's a white structure next to the Falcon 9. That's the strong back portion of the transporter rector. This strong back portion provides the liquids, the gases, electrical connections to the second stage, as well as an air conditioning line up to the payload fairing. Now, in about 2 minutes, that strong back will retract slightly from the rocket, about 2 degrees. Then at T0, hydraulics will pull the strong back farther away from the Falcon 9 as it lifts off. Now, on the weather front, the good news is weather's cooperating. We were watching clouds to the west, but the probability of good weather has been increasing, and we should stay go for the last 6 minutes of the countdown. Also, the upper altitude winds are fairly calm for when this vehicle goes supersonic. So right now, the vehicle payloads and range are go for an on-time liftoff just over 6 minutes from now.
For those of you who don't know much about the Starling program, our mission is to bring high-speed, low-latency internet to people all over Earth. Some of the most exciting opportunities for Starlink are rural or remote locations where traditional fiber or cable just isn't practical. On our June 7th mission, we launched the first Starlink satellite with a deployable visor to block sunlight from hitting the brightest spots of the spacecraft. This demo satellite, also known as VisorSat, is just one of the many actions SpaceX has taken in collaboration with leading astronomical groups to mitigate the effects of satellite reflectivity. We're still waiting for the satellite to reach its operational orbit. However, we're excited to report that all 57 of the satellites on today's mission do have sun visors, and all future satellites will be outfitted with these visors as well. It'll take a bit more time for our VisorSats to reach their operational orbit, and at that point, we'll see the full results of this effort. Now, today we also wanted to share a few updates on our rideshare program. SpaceX has launched some notable rideshare missions previously, including spaceflight's SSOA mission in December of 2018, and the New Centaurus Satu mission in February of 2019 that had a lunar lander on board. Today's Starlink mission marks the second official mission under SpaceX's SmallSat rideshare program, which gives small satellites flexible access to what is now the most flown operational rocket in the United States, Falcon 9. We have over 100 spacecraft slated to fly our rideshare missions, and that number will continue to grow under our multi-launch agreement with today's customer, Spaceflight. Under this agreement, Spaceflight reserves capacity to launch payloads on several SpaceX launches through the end of 2021, and it allows Spaceflight to package multiple payloads onto a single port to reduce costs for their end customer. We have a long working history with Spaceflight and look forward to continuing this partnership into the future.
We're coming up on 4 minutes from liftoff. Falcon 9 moving into the final stages of the countdown. Getting ready for the strong back to retract there on your screen. The clamp arms around stage 2 are opening up. Momentarily, we will see the strong back move away about 2 degrees from the rocket. Now, first and second stages are both nearly fully loaded. We've got almost 1 million pounds of kerosene and liquid oxygen on board. Fuel's fully loaded on stage 1 and stage 2. And we are finishing liquid oxygen loading in the last 2 minutes of the countdown. It's that super chilled liquid oxygen that's creating those white clouds that you can see around the Falcon 9 as the bleed gaseous oxygen mixes with that warm, humid Florida air, and that gives you the condensation clouds that you see. Now, coming up at T-minus 60 seconds, you'll hear the call out of startup. That means the rocket's flight computers have taken over the Falcon 9 commands for the last minute of the countdown. Inside of two seconds, we light the Merlin 1D engines. We will mix T-Teb, which is our ignition fluid, with liquid oxygen. That begins combustion. We then allow the fuel into the thrust chamber, and the engines come up to power for liftoff at T0. Inside of 3 minutes, we're closing out the liquid oxygen loading on the first stage. Meanwhile, the Starlink and BlackSky payloads continue to be healthy. The Falcon 9 team's tracking no issues on the rocket, the weather's looking good, and the range is green for launch. A moment ago, we heard the call out that stage 1 LOX load was complete. Transport erector has reclined. Next major event will be stage 2 liquid oxygen loading completion.
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
We've got stage 2 liquid oxygen loading complete. That means all propellants are fully loaded on the Falcon 9 first and second stages. The chilling announcement was telling us that we've had enough time with the liquid oxygen running through the Merlin 1D turbopumps to get them down to the necessary temperatures to go into the ignition sequence. Currently, you can see a large white cloud coming off of the strongback. That's normal. At this stage, we are now, having fully loaded all the propellants, we're bleeding back the liquid oxygen in the fuel out of the system so that we're getting a little bit of venting overboard, and that gives you the large white plume, again, as that warm, humid Florida air mixes with the cold gaseous oxygen to give you the clouds.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
Call out. Falcon 9's in startup. Flight computers are now running the Falcon 9. We're pressurizing the stages for flight, and we're waiting for the final go.
LD, go for launch.
With that, the SpaceX launch director has confirmed we're go for launch. So as we come up on T-minus 30 seconds, let's listen to the final countdown and watch as Falcon 9 takes our Starlink satellites and BlackSky satellites to orbit.
Stage 1 tanks pressing for flight.
T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. And liftoff.
M1D propulsion is nominal.
Plus 40 seconds since the launch of Falcon 9. Propulsion is confirmed. Merlin's look nominal. Power and telemetry are confirmed nominal from the avionics engineer. We're throttling down right now on the Merlin 1D engines. Preparing for supersonic and max Q.
Mach 1.
Got the call out for Mach 1. We have throttled the Merlins back up to full power. Next event will be maximum dynamic pressure. And there we are. We're going through the thickest portion of the atmosphere at the highest speeds. Now, as we continue to accelerate Falcon 9, the air density gets thinner and the loads on the vehicle decrease. A minute 30 seconds, trajectory continues to look good.
Back D-chill.
Back D-chill indicates we're now beginning to bleed a little bit of liquid oxygen through the upper stage engine turbopump to get it ready for ignition, coming up in just about 40 seconds from now. Nice view from the ground camera looking up the long plume coming out of the 9 Merlin 1D engines. Now, major event coming up will be main engine cutoff coming up at just after 2.5 minutes, called MECO. We shut off all the 9 engines. We'll separate the first stage from the second stage, and we will ignite the second stage engine called SES-1, the second stage engine start number 1. Beginning to throttle down.
MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
And we've got successful MVAC full power ignition. The view on the right shows the MVAC engine, the second stage now taking over, carrying the Starlink and BlackSky satellites to orbit. On the left screen, the first stage is continuing without power to coast to apogee, and you can see the large titanium grid fins beginning to open with the lights of the United States in the background as we slowly head up the eastern coast of America. Next coming up will be fairing separation. There's a view of the fairing. And we confirm fairing separation. So the Falcon 9 second stage continues at full power, carrying the Starlink and BlackSky satellites to the first of 2 orbits. The first stage is continuing to coast to apogee, and then it will begin to fall back to Earth, and eventually 2 burns to land on the drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. The trajectory right now continues to look right down the middle. Everything's looking good on Falcon 9. So as we come up on 4 minutes, we will remind you that we are attempting to catch and recover both fairing halves now that they've separated on our recovery vessels Ms. and Ms. Chief. If we make a successful catch, we'll try to bring you these views live. Otherwise, check our social media accounts for updates. Right now, 4 minutes, 20 seconds of the mission. All is going well.
While Stage 2 is doing its job there on the right, Stage 1 is headed back home to Earth. Can't quite see it on the video on the left, but it is doing that, and it will do this by executing a series of 2 burns. The first burn is the entry burn, where 3 of the 9 M1D engines will light up and slow the stage down as it re-enters the upper part of the Earth's atmosphere. The second burn is the landing burn, and this is a single engine burn that brings the vehicle's speed down rapidly in order to land on the drone ship. You can see on your screen that the second stage MVAC is still glowing and in the middle of its burn there, carrying our satellites to orbit. So Stage 1 entry burn is going to start in just over a minute here at T plus 6 minutes and 21 seconds. Stage 1 is currently navigating home to Earth using both its grid fins, and that small spurt of light that you saw was a nitrogen burst from the attitude control system, which is nitrogen gas that helps to orient and guide the first stage as it heads home. There are 4 grid fins and 4 attitude control thrusters on the inner stage of the rocket. In just about 20 seconds here, we will hear the call out for the start of the Stage 1 entry burn. This burn will last 20 seconds. Again, it's a 3-engine burn that will slow the first stage down as it enters the upper parts of the Earth's atmosphere.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
Heard confirmation of the Stage 1 entry burn startup. You can see those backlit grid fins with those 3 engines burning there. Again, this burn lasts 20 seconds.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
We've had confirmation of successful Stage 1 entry burn, and we're about a minute away from our landing burn. The landing burn will start at T plus 8 minutes, and it is also about 20 seconds long. The landing burn should bring us to our drone ship. Of course, I still love you in the Atlantic Ocean. So we have briefly lost that first stage view, but we should get it back when we get closer to the drone ship. We're about 30 seconds out from the Stage 1 landing burn. Again, this is a single engine burn. It's the engine right in the middle. Stage 1 is transonic right now. We're about 10 seconds from landing burn start.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Heard the call out for the start of Stage 1 landing burn. You can see the clouds sort of lighting up there.
Start internal guidance.
Stage 1, landing leg deploy.
Wow, look at that stage 1 sitting on our drone ship. Of course, I still
Stage
love
1
you.
landing.
That was a beautiful view of the stage 1 as it came down there, lighting the clouds up. And in just about 10 seconds here, we'll have second engine cut off there right on your screen.
Seco.
We've had confirmation of
Expected loss of signal, Cape.
second engine cutoff, and we're waiting for confirmation of good orbit out of this first burn here.
Nominal parking orbit insertion.
We're in a nominal orbit, and now we're about to enter a coast phase. So we're going to take a quick break, but we're going to leave you with an animation that shows you where we are in the coast. We'll be back at about T plus 46 minutes and 30 seconds for a second stage relight.
Acquisition of signal, Newfoundland. Expected loss of signal, Bermuda. signal, Goonhilly. Acquisition of signal, Goonhilly. Expected loss of signal, Newfoundland.